Excuse me. So good morning and welcome to the broadcast. I haven't got a title this morning because I couldn't think of one this morning. So yeah, I woke up late as well and just had a shower, got dressed. So there's no title. So I do these streams Sunday at 10 a.m. and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. And it's broadcast through YouTube, and you ask questions and through Skype. And my Skype is Rebekah Maroon. And that's UK time. I'm in the UK. So you've probably heard about this subject. You've probably heard about non-duality. About there being no person, no one living. And this is what these streams are about. No one living. That's a good title. I should have used that. But it didn't come. No one living. And yet there is living. There is life. So I haven't come with a presentation, so you have to we have to just see what happens, what the introduction is, and then you ask questions through Skype. the heating's just coming on. So it feels really nice to sit on the radiator. So this stream is about no one living. That this is no one living. That this life is happening, and it's a mystery that it's happening, but it's happening. It's like what seems to happen is when we are young children, and as we're growing up, the story of who we are, the story of me and what's happened to me and my life and my experience seems to become more and more important, and more focus is encouraged towards that. Like every other human is doing that. Their story, what they're doing, what's happened to them, where they're heading to in the future. It seems to become the main focus. The whole society is about that. So that becomes the normal way. That's kind of the way we do things as humans. We focus on this story, this personal story. Like that becomes the objective, this mental idea. Like we're trained into that being the reality, this story. And so everything then becomes about that, about improving that story, about making that story be successful, working that story out. That story reaching its climax, its conclusion, its final point. It's all about this story, this description of someone. And we call that in spirituality, we call that identification. This hypnotism energetically with this story of me, of who I am, this description that seems to happen mentally, that begins to feel as if there's someone here. That mental story of me and my life and what's happened and where I'm going starts to become like a feeling, like a contraction, a feeling of someone. There's actually a someone in here speaking that, living that story. You see, but this story has problems and things to overcome and issues and all these things going on. And so if that's who is felt to be alive, this problem story, then it's going to feel very depressing, constricting, limited, painful, harsh. Life will seem like it's constantly a battle, constantly a struggle. Constantly a problem. So that becomes normal. Living through that story, living as a story, becomes the normal way of humans. And so what this message of non-duality is pointing to and describing is that that story of you isn't really who you are, it isn't the experience. So it's an experience, but it isn't the reality. It's an appearance that appears a story of someone, but it isn't the reality. Because it feels as if that person, that story, is the experience. It's moving through life. It's observing the world. It's observing others. It's the experiencer, the ultimate. But it isn't. It's an experience appearing in this. And so in non-duality, there's a pointing to that which is beyond that story, beyond all experiences that come and go. It isn't the ultimate reality, that story of someone. It's a part of being human. This ability to think, complex thinking, to describe, actually an amazing thing. It's actually amazing that this animal is able to not pretend, but has this functioning where it can not pretend, but has is it self-awareness, or it has like I'm not sure what to call it. It has like the ability to appear as if there's someone independent. It's pretty freaking amazing, actually. What was I saying? It's amazing, actually. But non-duality is pointing out that that isn't true. That isn't true. That description of you, that story of you, is simply that, a description happening, a story happening, but it isn't reality. It isn't truth. And so it's like a moving back, no longer identified with that story or description. The description still happens, but there's no longer an identification with it, no longer a sticking or holding of it. It just appears and flows through. Life's appearing and flowing through. No one to hold on. Just appearing as it appears. And this is what is called waking up. Waking up from that dream. And a part of that is intellectual. So a part of that is learning ideas and new concepts. But then there's also an energetical change. A collapsing of this holding on. A collapsing of this limitation that seemed to be making everything real and making everything seem permanent. Highly. Oh. Hmm. So this seeking energy causes immense discomfort, immense agitation. So uncomfortable. And so it's like a driving force, trying to find relief. Trying to find relief. Or release or relief. So it's felt in the body, this uncomfortability, this agitation, and then the mind gets goes crazy trying to find relief. And it can turn the attention onto different things to try and find relief, try and find it through food, try and find it through sex, try and find it through enlightenment, desperately trying to find relief or a release for this agitation, uncomfortability. Even in non-duality, it's trying to seek for relief. And the mind thinks, if I get non-duality, if I become enlightened, if I see this thing, this no I, then there will be ultimate relief, ultimate release from this sense of limitation, this agitation, this discomfort. And so it's seeking and projecting in time, working towards it in time. And the funny thing is that this agitation, this discomfort, is where freedom is. Not in the projected future when I get there, but this discomfort is actually what's currently appearing. And actually, all the teachings, all the books we've read, all the religions, all the spiritual teachings are about sit and be still, sit and be still, sit and be still. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. Yet the mind is so accustomed to running away from what is happening, is so accustomed to seeking in time, in future. Its ideas, its thoughts, its opinions. It wants to keep living as someone, living in the mind. It's just so uncomfortable with all the emotions, all the contractions, all the stories in the body. And the mind goes crazy. Thank you, Javi. That was in response to what you said, actually. Highly. So this whole debate of whether you go to Holland or not for this retreat is really irrelevant. It's just the mind trying to obsess about something. It's really is irrelevant. Javi knows of a 5-month retreat in Holland. It sounds amazing. Yeah, 5-month retreat. Yeah, so whether you go or not, I don't know. It's just not the problem really. I think Well, my volume's off. I kind of want it off because it's too loud for me, but at the same time, I can't tell if someone's messaged or not. Let's try and turn it down. Oh, volume. Lost it. Notification. So feel free, did I not say, feel free to send questions on Skype. Oh, sorry, no, it was in Spain, that retreat. Sorry. It was in Spain, I think, not in Holland. He lives in Holland. Was it in Spain? I think it was in Spain, yeah. Zen Master in Spain, yeah. Padosh Kusho Viralba. Yeah. So there are no more questions. This is it. This is it. This is freedom. like it's too radical. It's too radical. Yeah. Like the loss of you is too radical. The loss of you being so important. That this is free already. So the person wants to flee its own identification because the identification is what is so uncomfortable. So it wants to get away from itself while it is a fabrication. This is getting complicated to write. Yeah, because trying to intellectualize it is complicated. It is complicated. Whereas this is really simple. Like it's too simple. It's too simple. You don't need to understand this description. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The clock is ticking. The light is shining. The body is breathing. Thoughts are appearing. Thinking about food, thinking about non-duality. The bird is flying. The thoughts aren't more important than the bird flying or the clock ticking. Non-duality isn't a thought. It isn't understanding. The sound of the car passing by on the street. The sound of the heating. Oh, thank you, Helen. Laughton. Laughton's a good name. Laughton. Hope I'm saying it right. Laughton. Free from believing in an I. Oh. I'm not sure what that was related to. Yeah, but not just believing in an I, but free from everything. Everything. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, and yeah. Thanks for joining. I'm back on Thursday, if possible, at 8:30 p.m. So I'll see you then. Have a good week. Bye.